Hello everyone and welcome to a mod spotlight on a mod that I'm going to be using on my Feed the Beast Let's Play series very soon. That mod is the big reactors. Now, first of all, what I want to talk about in the mod is world generation, as this is going to be pretty important. So you can find this ore, it's called yellow ore, that's the only sort of world gen it has, and you can find this underground. It's pretty rare. Well, the Feed the Beast team does change it around a little bit. And if you're wondering, I am in Minecraft 1.7.10. If you're wondering why I have these cool tools, they're from Project E, which is equivalent exchange 2. But enough about that. So you can mine this, and you can actually smelt it, or you can pulverize it, and you can turn it into. You can use a grindstone to turn it into some yellorium dust. You could turn it into facades if you want. You can smelt it into uranium ingots somehow. Don't really know how that works. You can redstone furnace it into yellorium ingots, and pulverize it, induction smelt it, and put it in the sag mill, and also you have a 5% chance to get some cyanide dust, and also you can also use the QED with some coal to get some uranium ingots, and yeah, so that's what you can do with the world gen side of things. Now, what you're probably going to do now is build your first basic reactor, and that you're going to need some reactor casing, reactor controller, control rod, and some glass, and a few of these yellorium fuel rods. And also these yellorium ingots. These are your fuel source for main reactors. So let me just go and build one down here real quick. I'm just going to clear out a little bit of the grass, and they can be of any size, guys. They can be, 5x5s, 10x10, 64x64s. They can just be huge. So you want to start off by sort of doing an iron tank sort of thing. So reactor casings all around the outside, and sort of a bit of and you want to make a bit of a sort of rim with the casings. I'm going to do that for all four sides. So this is just your basic reactor that you can make. And also, I forgot in the top, you're probably going to want a control rod. And this is what your fuel's going to sit in. So if I put this yellorium fuel rod, that is where I put my control rod. And then we're going to need our yellorium fuel rods. And now we're going to put the controller in somewhere, and also we're going to need a power tap. And a power tap is where we can access power within the reactor. And now you can fill it in with casing, but I think I'm going to use glass, because that looks way cooler, right? And another cool feature about this mod is, unlike most mods, it actually tells you what's wrong with it if you try and complete the multi-block structure. As you can see, invalid for use in the machine's interior. So it's telling me that, the structure's not complete, and it also gives you the coordinates as well. There we go. You can see the sides have changed, and it's now formed a multi-block. And I'm actually forgetting something here. I'm actually missing the reactor access port. And what you can do with the access port is actually access its inventory. So you can have it eject fuel and eject waste, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later. So we're going to put this yellorium in here, and you can see it's filled to the interior of that. And these reactors, to my knowledge, do not blow up, so they're pretty safe. And what we can actually do is we can actually activate the reactor, and there you go. It's building up a little bit of power, and as you can see, the core heat is building up rapidly, and the casing heat isn't building up too much. Now, I don't believe you can burn yourself from standing on it, even though it says the casing is getting hot, which I thought it did initially, but I don't think it does. And as you can see, it tells us here, heat in the reactor's casing, high heat raises energy output and cooling conversion. Core heat of the reactor's fuel, heat increases the fuel usage, so it stops your reactor being as efficient. As you can see, we're using 0.84 millipockets per tick. So it converts this into a liquid inside the center of the reactor. And also, core heat is transferred to the casing. Transfer rate is based on the design of the reactor's interior. So I'm just going to turn it off real quick. And I can see it is building up some power, and I can see it shows you the hour per tick, the temperature, what it's being used and its efficiency. And see status is offline. So I press O to turn on my NEI again, and what we're going to need is some blocks of iron, because blocks of iron, they're sort of quite a low tier but sort of effective way of transferring your heat from the core to the casing, and that allows you to generate more. So you want your casing heat to be really high and your core heat to be really low. So if I complete this again, I turn on the reactor, now as you can see the core heat isn't rising as quick and the casing heat's getting hotter, and we're generating now killer RF per ticks instead. So it does have quite a large internal buffer, as you can see, and so you can't actually see the fuel anymore, but what it's doing is we're now actually transferring the heat from the core to the outside. You can use a block called from big reactors. It's called ludicrite blocks, and these are like your really top tiers blocks, but they're very, very expensive. So you had to use like nether stars and plutonium ingots, which are part of blue reactors. Again, I think you make them from smelting. Well, we'll get into this a bit later, because they're quite expensive and quite hard to get, the plutonium ingots. So what I'm now going to do is actually set it to daytime here, and there's actually a better way of cooling your reactor. So instead of putting blocks in here to transfer the heat, we can also use liquids. Now, waterworks is sort of quite one of the lower tier liquids, but if you have thermal expansion installed, you can use this liquid called, I believe it's called cryolithium, I think that's called. And the weird thing about this liquid is it's quite cold, so it will hurt you in survival mode, but it sinks. So instead of it just staying there, it will eventually drop like that. So filling stuff with it is a bit awkward, but it is doable. And what you can do is you can fill this up with this very cold liquid. I believe it is about full. I'm just going to leave this here. And there you go. So that looks about done, right? So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go back to survival mode, and as you can see, this actually does hurt you, as you can see. Even with my super cool quantum armor on, it still hurts. So if I go into the interface here, as you can see, if I now turn the reactor on, as you can see, the casing heat is getting a lot higher now, and the core heat is dropping. And also it allows us to generate more killer RF per ticks. If you want to know what RF is, it's redstone flux, which is the power system for thermal expansion. So if I get myself a energy cell here, resonant energy cell, which is the top tier one. If I put not there. If I, let me just get a crescent hammer here, which is your sort of tool to tinker around with stuff. Put the power tap there, and you can see this is filling up. And obviously that is an input, so I can change that to an output if I want, or change it to that to stop it from connecting. And that's an output as well, that's an input. So there you go. So I can see it's draining this internal buffer, and I can see it's giving out heat. So you're probably thinking, well, that's fuel. What's that stuff at the bottom? That is actually waste. So the waste it'll come out here as cyanide ingots, and you can do a little bit of stuff with that. I believe it's a temporary recipe. There is going to be a machine to do it in the future to make it. Oh, wrong one there. You can use yellorium, or I believe uranium ingots from advanced solar panels, and sand to make the cyanide ingots. As I said, there will be a better recipe in the future, but that's what the mod author has put in as a temporary fix. So I'm just going to take this off here, just so we can interface with the reactor a bit better. And we also, from big reactors, there's a few more blocks I want to show you guys. So there is also these other things, like you've got the like you have the computer ports, which is a way to access it with Computercraft. The mod is actually installed, but I'm not too good with computers, so you guys have probably had to figure this out on your own. You can interface by looking at like the coolant levels and stuff like that. So if I put that there, then it's now connected. So I think it's like lower to start the command off, and then you can access the command prompt within that to do it. So thank you for watching part 1 of this spotlight, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and take it easy.